This is the Diamond Crossing, Canadian Northern and Canadian Pacific. Looking eastward down Canadian Pacific's Estevan Sub, 156.1 miles from Bienvey on the main line near Brandon to its junction with the Sioux Line in downtown Estevan. Freight service began on this line on February 19, 1892. Passenger service that August the 1st. Looking northeast up the line that the Canadian Northern laid down from the Literary Line at Lampman in 1911, seeking access to the vast coal fields just south of here. That's Highway 18 heading westbound into Bienfait, Saskatchewan this Thursday, July 21st, 2016. And Bienfait has a pool as seen from the grounds of the museum on the east side of town. It's been pointed out to me that even though Bienfait means well done in French and was supposedly bestowed by French railway workers, the accepted pronunciation is Bienfait, if you don't mind. The alternative story, and the more believable, is that Antoine Charles Bienfait was a Dutch financier for the Pearson and Company who encouraged his wealthy clients to invest in his CPR. And this is a standard number 5 station. It was built in 1907, sold off to the museum in 1987, and moved here. I'm not sure what the railway used for a station until 1907, if anything. On Railway Avenue looking west, the elevator stood on this side of the tracks. This is not very good farm country, but there was 2 elevators standing by 1911, Alameda Farmers Elevator and Trading Company and Northern Elevator Company. Well, looks like an old International hiding by the town shops there, former fire truck. In 1928, Saskatchewan Wheat Pool built their 733. It was the last one closed. Right here it stood in 1982. The CPR station stood on the other side of the tracks here at mile 147.6 from Bienvey. And this is a former CPR locomotive built by Baldwin, likely at their Eddystone factory in Pennsylvania in 1907. It was acquired by Manitoba Saskatchewan Coal Company from the CPR in 1956 and retired in the early 60s. And there's a CN steel caboose. We are right at the head of Main Street. The town site is laid out perpendicular to the rail line, of course. CPR fashion. It's the King Edward Hotel, which was standing come 1908. The current post office is a block east over on Walsh Street. R.S. Grogan opened the Bienfait post office on April 1st, 1893 for settlers that began arriving in this area in 1891. He resigned on February 22nd, 1895. On the southwest corner of Main Street and Railway Avenue is Royal Canadian Legion number 169. And east side of Main Street, there's the head office of the RM of Coalfields number 4, and interesting, also the village office for Frobisher, about 35 k to the east. It was A.J. Milligan who opened up the post office on the town site on December the 1st, 1903. And the west side of Main Street, that building right there is formerly Watts Mercantile, where it pays the deal, 1908, gone by 1914. The only cafe in town. Open again. Bienfait was incorporated as a village on April 16, 1912, and as a town on March 1st, 1957. Underground coal mining was the basis of Bienfait's economy. It was tough, dangerous work, and come the depression of the 1930s, wages began to drop drastically. In response, the miners unionized, voting to join the Mine Workers Union of Canada in 1931. This was a move that was resisted by the owners, of course, including the CPR. To press their demands, the miners organized a large march from Bienfait to Estevan on September 29, 1931. The mayor of Estevan saw things getting out of hand. He called in the RCMP, who opened fire on the marchers. The result was many wounded, 3 killed. And this is their monument in the graveyard north of downtown. Looking east along the railway line, the station would have stood just beyond the spruce tree there, off Shrigala Road. Not much left of the yards. We're standing on Well Done Road. Looking south, you can see vehicles on Highway 18 down there at east. And coming around to look west down the rail line. Estevan's about 8 rail miles that way. Standing at the intersection of Carbon Avenue and Well Done Road south of the highway. This is the old Coalfields Union Hospital, built in 1947. It's now residences for the last few years. Looking north up Well Done, also known as Range Road 70, west of the 2nd. And here's the Well Done School, the new school in Bienfait. From its K-8. The senior students commute to Estevan for classes. A few blocks east on Carbon Avenue at the corner of Main Street is the only active church in Bienfait anymore. St. Monica's was built in 1957. The old church on the corner here, built in 1938, is now the hall. Another block farther east on Carbon at the corner of Walsh is this edifice, which until it was sold off in 2004 was Trinity United. Also known as St. Paul's, also known as Black Diamond United, likely built as a Presbyterian church in 1924. Looking north up Walsh there. And around to look at St. Peter and Paul Anglican, built in 1924, sold off in 2010. Now it's a private residence. It's a combination of a church and a hall all along. The kitty corner from St. Peter's and Paul's in the corner of Carbon and Yonge is the arena. And these are the old schoolyards. Location of 3 generations of schools until Well Done was built, likely in the 70s. You can see the caboose and the museum over there on the other side. Now it's a housing development. And beside the arena is Bienfait Curling Club. It's been here at least since 1956. And standing in what might be Lignite Avenue, looking at the back of the arena there, this is the Canadian National Yards in through here. There was a station, freight passenger shelter, dropped off in 1913 at mile 16.3 from Lantman and what Canadian National called its Bienfait sub to Estevan, 25.1 miles. The shelter was replaced in 1915 by a third-class station, which was sold off in 1984. And there's the crossing of Well Done Road. And on Highway 18, looking west along the right-of-way of Canadian National, which has been abandoned from here into Estevan a few years ago. This is all undifferentiated glacial till in through here. The Souris River Glacial Spillway is a few miles south. And these are the new Canadian National Yards. Transload Center. Stand on the Highway 18 looking eastward into Bienfait. That's the Well Done School that we're looking at. The first commercial mining in this area happened in 1887 when some entrepreneurs dug about 400 tons of lignite with a plan to send it down the Souris River to Winnipeg. The Souris River's kind of shallow and sandbar, and that plan didn't work out so well. Mining had to stand by until the CPR arrived in 1892. Initially, this was all deep seam mining or room and pillar underground, and peak production was reached using this method in 1930 when just shy of 500,000 tons were produced from 53 mines. Since 1956, it's been mostly strip mining with big drag lines like these, removing the overburden and sending the coal to thermoelectric generating stations. Besides coal mining and agriculture, Bienfait also makes part of its living from the oil patch. The Bakken Exshaw formation of the Williston Sedimentary Basin is about 8,000 feet below our feet here and produces the highly volatile Bakken crude oil, which most famously burned down the picturesque village of Lac Mégantic, Quebec in July of 2013. Bienfait, Saskatchewan.